Hello everyone, let me introduce myself. My name is Monivan. Together with my partner, Lita, we will provide the ratio analysis for both companies that Amy wanted to invest. Okay, we will let her know that which one is better. Okay, let's have a look at those company background. Company one is a multi-billion dollars Australian supermarket, retail, and service chain, which shares price at the 30th of June was $25.67 and now sitting between $35 and $44. Company 2 is a multi-million dollars Australian manufacturer in food industry. Its share price at the 30th of June was $4.8 and now sitting between $4.4 and $5.7. In order to decide which company to invest, there are four things to discuss: profitability, asset efficiency, liquidity, and capital structure. Okay, here's the table content. In the table of content, there are profitability, asset efficiency, liquidity, capital structure, and recommendation and conclusion. First of all, profitability. Profitability informs user how well an entity has met its profit objective in relation to the resource invested. There are four key features to discuss in the profitability. First, return on equity. It indicates the level of the profit generated from owners' investment in the organization. In this part, we can see that the return on equity for company 1 is decreasing drastically compared to the company 2, which is increased by 50% from 2018 to 2019. But in the term of percentage, the company 1 is still higher than company 2. Second, return on asset. Return on asset indicates the profit generated from the investment in total asset is also lower from 2018 to 2019 for company 1, while the company 2 is still increased in small amount from 1.43% to 1.88%. Third, the gross profit margin. This indicates the gross profit generated per dollars of sales. If we look at the number, we can see that both company gross profit margin increased by a small amount from 2018 to 2019, but the company 1 had higher percentage, which means that the company 1 generated more gross profit margin per dollar of sales. The last one is the net profit margin, which indicates the net profit generated by the dollar of sales. And this part, the company 1 is good at managing their net profit margin, because from 2018 to 2019, it's decreased over 40%, while net profit margin of the company 2 is increased. If you compare the percentage of the company 1 in 2018 to the company 2, you can see that it is had higher percentage, but it had lower percentage than the company 2 in 2019. In my opinion, although the percentage of the company decreased drastically compared to the company 2, but in the term of percentage, the company 1 has a lot higher than company 2. It means that the profitability ratio company 1 is better than the company 2. The second part is the ratio analysis. The second part in the ratio analysis which we need to consider is the asset efficiency. Asset efficiency ratio measures the effectiveness of an entity in generating sales revenue due to the investment in the current and non-current asset. Let's have a look at the asset turnover ratio. This basically shows the efficiency in the generating income per dollars of investment in the asset. In this case, we can see that the company 1 is more efficient than the company 2, even though its had decreased. For time inventory turnover, it's measure the number of time per year that inventory is sold. Therefore, the company 1 is better than the company 2, as it sells more time than the company 2. The other one is the day inventory turnover period, which indicate the average period time in days it takes to sell the inventory. For this part, the lower the better, because it means that the company takes less time to sell out the inventory. We can see that between the company 1 and company 2, company 1 sells their stock quickly. Time debtor turnover show the number of time per year that cash is collected from trade debtors during a period. In this term, we can see that the company 1 is better than the company 2 because the amount of time is collected from debtor is higher. The day debtor turnover period show the average period of time in days it takes to collect the money from the debtors. In this part, the lower the better, because it means that the company takes less time to collect money. So the company 1 is more efficient than the company 2. Time creditor turnover show how many times per year company pay their creditor. The higher the time, the creditor turnover ratio, the shorter the period of time in paying their creditor, which means that the company 1 is better than the company 2. And the last one is the day creditor turnover period. Show the average period of time it takes to pay the monies to creditor. In this part, the company 1 is paid less days to creditor. It means that company 1 is more efficient than the company 2. In conclusion, the company 1 is way better than company 2 because the company 1 is more effective in generating sales revenue due to the investment in the current and non-current assets.
Now let's move on to my part, liquidity. To analyze the liquidity, firstly, we need to know how to calculate the current ratio as well as the quick ratio. Current ratio measure the firm ability to meet its short-term debt. Current ratio can be calculated by dividing current asset with current liability. And the ideal ratio for current ratio is 1.5 to 1. Any value lower than 1.5 indicated that the company is having trouble paying its short-term debt. Although the value is higher than 1.5 isn't necessarily good. It means that the company is not using its core asset as effectively as they should. As you can see, the company 1 and the company 2, the average ratio for the company 1 in 2019 is 0.83, when the average ratio for the company 2 is 2.2. Quick ratio measure the quick ratio measure the firm ability to meet its short-term debt on a short notice. Quick ratio can be calculated by subtract the current asset with the inventory and repayment and divide it with the current liability. The minimum for the quick ratio is 0.821. For any value lower than 0.8 indicated allow the liquidity in the company. And a value higher than 0.8 is mean that the good liquidity. With a higher liquidity, the safer the company is financially in the short term. As you can see, the quick ratio for the company 1 in 2019 is 0.82, is lower than the company 2 is 1.47. And now let's move on to capital structure. Capital structure is the particular combination of debit and equity used by the company to finance its overall operation and growth. As you can see on the PowerPoint slide, there is 4 ratio in the company capital structure. The first one is debit to equity ratio, and the second one is debit to asset ratio, The third one is equity to equity ratio, and the last one is interest coverage ratio. As you all can see, the result of my calculation for the company 1 and company 2 in 2018 and 2019. Now I'm talking about debit to equity ratio. In company 2 in 2018, company 2 debit to equity ratio show 83.22%. On this indicated there is 83.22 cent of liability for every dollar of equity. And for the company 2 having some risk of not being able to pay the debt. But by looking at the company 1, debit to equity ratio in 2018 is 127.6%. It means that the company on debit to equity ratio is much higher than the company 2. And for the debit to asset ratio in 2018 for company 2 show that for 45.42% of its assets are funded by the creditor. The debit to asset ratio indicate the company 2 is reliant on equity financing relative to debt it is financing. Now I'm talking about equity ratio. For the equity ratio, less than 50% suggests greater reliance to equity. For the company 2 in 2018, there is 54.58% of equity, with every dollar of asset are financed by the investor, and the last one is interest coverage ratio. In 2018, company 2 interest coverage ratio indicate that any of profit can over the interest 4 to 5 times, but by looking at the company 1 interest coverage ratio in 2018, it is 13 times higher than the company 2. And for my recommendation, I suggest ME should invest on company 2, since the company 2 is a better operating and growth company for finance. In conclusion, out of profitability, asset efficiency, liquidity, and the capital structure, as we do the calculation, we found out that the company 2 is better than the company 1, and we strongly suggest that ME should invest on the company 2 rather than company 1. And thank you for listening. That is the end of my presentation. Thank you.